リンク送るね。OK。僕の声聞こえてる？でもラグがあるから。OK。Hi to everyone, I think we will be starting soon. If you can see the video and hear me, please write something in the chat. Auto, OK. Test 3. Okay, let's switch to my desktop. Ping. Okay, I'm streaming in full HD, so the video will be a little bit behind the time. So it will probably take me a little bit to answer your stuff on the chat, but I probably will. So just keep in mind that the video is a little bit behind what you're seeing. Okay. So welcome to the first how do you call it? Not review, but a kind of commentary on your art. So I have 8 people here. Actually, 8 of you sent some things for me to review and revise a little bit. So I'll be doing about 15 minutes, probably like 10 minutes each picture. So because there are a lot of pictures to go through, I'll do just one picture of each person, and I have a small frame in the right corner, so you will see whose picture is it, and if they provided any links or anything they want to plug here, I just put it here. So a little update first. As you know, I'm working on the book. I corrected another test PDF today, and we are getting close to the final version. And I'm working on the animation that I'm doing with an anime studio, and we'll be probably announcing it in a few days, so you will be able to see a poster and a trailer. And with a lot of my new work, so I'll be able to share stuff with you also. And I'll be also writing a small post about it, but I have a font that you can download on Gumroad for free, and this is just a font I did for my own YouTube videos for the titles, but I uploaded it to my Gumroad, so you can download a font for free. I'll be updating this font because now it only has big letters and numbers, but probably I'll be updating it with more stuff soon. Okay, so that's it for the update. Let's go for the pictures here. So the first picture is from Alexander Boronin. Thank you. And we'll be doing here these pictures in the how do you call it? Junban, it's called. Okay, so first came, first served. So I'll be doing it in the like the first ones that you sent me. We'll do first. Okay, so if you want to put the link in the chat, and I will copy it to the file. Order, yes, I'll do it in the order that you sent it, the pictures to me. So the first one is from Alexander Boronin, and he actually sent me 2 pictures, but let's focus on this one here, because I like it a lot. I like the other one also, but I like this one. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. And this picture is really cute. It has small little mice riding the train, and there are few things I would like to comment on here, and most are about like technical stuff of using watercolors and technical stuff about trains. Because for me it's like illustrations like this, even if it's like fantasy illustrations with small little mice riding a cute train, should have a little bit, if I was doing it, I would put a little bit more technical stuff here and there, so I'll just go over it. Okay, so let's do a layer over, and I'll pick my brush. Okay, so the perspective is okay here, I think, because if you draw some lines here, you can see that the perspective is more or less okay. So, and the first thing is perspective, and for me it's like I don't care about perspective so much, unless it makes the picture make it makes the picture look weird. So if the picture does not look weird, it's okay. And here it's okay. I mean, you can see the box that the train is in, and there's no problems with this. And the thing that is bothering me here a little bit is that if you see like this window and the distance on the other side, it should be kind of here-ish if you see the box. So I would move like this part here. It should be still like this white part here, and this window, if you want to show it, it would be like here-ish. There should be like a partition here that separates the driver's seat from the passenger's compartment. So there would be likely like a wall here with a small window probably that would be connected to the ceiling using like a pole here, and like a window here probably, something like this. And I don't know the build of this train, but there are windows here that are really cute windows. I would add some like latches that na zdrowie, that you can close and open the windows. And because this mouse here uses the window to fly her or his balloon, I would actually so I would actually move this part here to the bottom to make it open, and kind of remove this part here. Like making a variation on the window is kind of nice for the picture, because if things are just like 1, 2, 3, it's kind of boring. Not boring, but not the most interesting you can do. So maybe you could close this window and open this one a little bit, and open this one more. And because there's like there's glass here, I would put kind of a glass effect on this part to make it more kind of interesting. So let's kind of see how it looks. this, maybe like this. I know, but the top part is open, right? So kind of like this. So you can see that there's like glass here. And if you don't want to cover the character inside, you can just make it like this. Set it to screen and let's see what happens. Nothing happens. Okay. So kind of like this. And the other thing that kind of bothers me here is like you have the number here, which is really cute number plate for the train number, but the number is here, but it's not really big, is it? It's new layer. Number is here, but it's not big, and it's a shame because it's a cute number, so you could do it bigger, like bang. I was taught this by one of my teachers from the university in Japan I went to. It's like if you have a characteristic thing on your character or something you want to show in a place, be sure that it stands out enough for people to notice, so you can show it properly. So like Kiki has her ribbon, and no real ribbon is like this huge, but her ribbon is her like mark that you know her from. So it's good to just show it as big as you can, so it adds to her character. She's not a Kiki without the ribbon, so you have to show it properly big. It's the ribbon which protects her through the movie. So it's kind of important to show like this kind of traits bigger, and this number here is the trait of this character. So this is like a character. So if it was a human, it would be better to show it like bigger. Being. Hi, Reloj. I will be doing your picture in a second also. Okay, so, and the same thing is about the sign here. There's like a cute sign that says Mouse Stories, but it's written with a gel pen, I think, on watercolor, and that's a shame because you could actually see how signs on trains look. So for example, make it like this kind of yellow color to make it more stand out, because blue on blue background does not stand out so well here. Okay, like this, maybe a little bit, not so much darker, but a little bit darker. About like this color, okay, and a nice like black text or something like this would be better probably. Like a fake logo or something. The number here could be also be bigger, but it's just the train, the cart number. It's just details, but these are the things that I would fix actually, and stuff like this here, which does not look much train like. So like the proper train bumper here, like this, so you can see it, and like this kind of train like thing here, which makes it a little bit more cute probably. But the biggest thing that I have here is like the roof looks really nice because this wash here is not layered, so it's like two passes, 1 2, and a little bit light here left, so it looks nice and shiny, and I really like this. But the blue part is a little bit messy here. I would do it with just one pass, or if I can, I would do it just with one pass. So this kind of shadow here, I don't think it's needed. I would be a little bit more flat and with watercolor texture, and leave a little bit of white here to show the train that it's kind of round. And the bumper here also, it's like if you have an element that is like this, it would be better to use a different color to show it. The rivets are nice. The rivets are nice, so I would leave them. Kind of something like this. And the shadow on the street is also okay, but it is kind of the same color as the train side. How do you call it? I don't know. As the wheels. So I would make it a little bit lighter, so you can see where the train ends and when the shadow begins. Maybe like a bluish shadow or something like this. One of the most important things I learned when I was doing animation backgrounds is like you have to make lies to make things more easy to understand. So even if in reality the shadow would be really dark and it would be hard to understand what is happening, like here, you have to cheat and make a little bit lies, so your picture is easier to understand, and it's easier to understand when one thing begins and one thing ends. Okay, so this is it about this picture. I will maybe I will save it or something. Desktop 1. Okay, let's move to the second one. I'm pressing something. Okay, so do you have any comments on what we are doing, and if something is not if you have any comments, anything you want to say, just write on the chat, please. Okay, I was told by Kana to smile more while I talk. I don't smile while I talk. Okay, the next picture is by Mari, which goes with Frika Frig on Instagram, and you can see it on the comment below. I'll open it. Which one was it? Okay, it's this one. Okay, and this is like an sketch in Moleskine, Urban Sketchers, Sao Paulo. Really cool. And my comment here is really difficult because this picture looks really nice, and I don't this is not my style, obviously, but I can do some comments here also. My first comment is that while you are sketching outside and you're coloring, probably after you finished the lines, you already, when you're drawing the lines, you know where the tree is going to come. And I would be careful to uh, do stuff like this, so it's harder to understand actually where the tree begins and where the building starts. So I would not put lines when they are not needed actually. So it's easier to understand what is in the background and what is in the foreground. And also because the ground starts here and goes really far to the background until here, it would be nice to make a nice gradation of color, so things are easier, the distance is easier to understand. What I mean by this is, let's make a screen layer here. For example, the most common thing to do is to make things more bluish the farther you go, and make them more kind of saturated the closer you get. So kind of something like this, and more saturated and more strong colors here. And also with the trees, if you have light that is kind of going through the trees here in front, I would make them more darker and contrasted, so you can see that they are closer. And with this you can leave a little bit here and there. You can leave a little bit here and there with white, so it makes the trees more kind of interesting. It's I think that also we did with the animation backgrounds is like, even if the trees are really thick and you cannot see the light through them, we would intentionally leave like small like highlights that you can see through the tree. And I don't know if you're going here for realism or just really rough sketching, but the other thing is that you have the layers here, which is like 1 2 3. First three is like in the background, and then you have the second layer here, which is like in the middle, and then you have the third one, which is here. And it would be better to kind of layer them more, so it's easier to understand which is in front and which is in the back. So this tree should kind of come here more. And most of the times with trees is that the leaves kind of go onto the trunk in some places, and if you add this, it suddenly gets more realistic, because you get your eye can pick up the layers. So again, if you have layers like this, you have to remember about the contrast between the first layer here and the second and the third. So the third one is kind of bluish, which is really nice, and you can just go like this. And the third one is this kind of really greenish green, like gold green. And this one here is the darkest one, which is probably like in the shadow. So I would put more like here, so you can really see like the 1 2 3 layers here. And this tree trunk here is like, if it's darker, it's better probably. So it's also like in the foreground. Where are my colors? My colors, no, yes, darker, less saturated probably, this kind of thing. So, and here are those three layers are here also, so like 1 2 3. So I would put this tree kind of on the same layer, like this part here, and this tree is like on the same layer here. So you can connect it, even think about it like vector painting. So it's kind of layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and with the shape you have to fight to make it easy to understand. So I would probably make the front layer maybe darker. I don't know how much time did you have for painting this. And also, because there are some trees, it would be nice to add some shadows, probably like on the ground from the chairs and from the tree. You could go a long way with this painting actually. I don't know where the light is coming from here, but you could add some nice shadows. Like this color here is really nice, so I'll just pick this color and I would add some shadows underneath the chairs, for example, like this, to make it more kind of three-dimensional. And it doesn't matter that this chair is kind of wonky a little bit, because this is just like a quick urban sketchers sketch. But you could add stuff like this, for example, to make it more kind of appealing a little bit, and the shadow of the tree here. To add the depth a little bit. For example, like this. Okay, so that's it for this painting. I will show you the before and after, like G. Okay, so the most important fix here is to give this picture a little bit of depth, because it's kind of flat. So I edited the lighting here, and of course there are things that you can do in Photoshop that you cannot do with watercolors. But if you think ahead, and if you plan ahead and start from the lightest parts and then go to the darks, you can achieve almost everything with watercolors. So you can also do stuff like this. The base picture is really nice for outdoor sketch, but if you give it a little bit more depth, I think it would be more kind of three-dimensional. Okay, I'll save this. Desktop! Where's my desktop? Yes. Oh, two. Okay, let's close it. Okay, so the next picture is from Martin Broom. Yes, there's a little bit of a lag, so if there's a lag, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'll add this here. Save. And okay, let's open the picture. Okay, so this is a picture that actually he did based on the picture I did on a live stream some time ago, and I will talk a little bit about this here. Okay, first let's make it more contrasty so you can see it better a little bit. Like this. Okay, so this is a bathroom, and one thing I want to fix here is the perspective, because it's a little bit all over the place. And comment on here. So I'll just show you how I look at perspective in a painting like this, because this is thing I did by hand, so it's kind of wonky in the first place, but I will show you how to deal with things like this here being. Okay, so I made it a little bit less opaque so you can see the lines I do better. Okay, so the first thing is I'll do it red. The first thing here is the room, so you are kind of here. And the second thing is the bath. So you are about like here. Okay, so this is the base of the bath. And there's like the wall here and the wall here, which is all right. And there's the bath here and here. It should be a little bit longer, probably like here. And it goes until here and is kind of here, which is okay. This is like a really simple shape, and this is what I'm telling you about drawing perspective, is like just thinking in boxes. And the heater here is next to the bath, so, and it's really next to it, so it should have the same perspective like this. And also it's kind of here, here, and here. So if you can just put stuff into boxes and imagine how it should look like with like this kind of technique, you can paint and draw almost anything, I think. Because even hard to imagine things like this kind of water faucet here, we know that it's on this wall here and it's a little bit higher than the bathtub, so we can measure like the bathtub here. It ends like in this point, so let's make it higher a little bit, like here, and it's the same perspective, so it goes like on this line. And one faucet is here, one faucet is here, so like this. But first, like, there's probably like a pipe that sticks from the wall like this. Okay. And there's like this kind of thing, and there's like a faucet here, like the knob, and probably there's like a shower head here on like a hook thing, I don't know, which is also attached to the wall, and the rubber hose is like here in the bottom, and it goes like this probably. So this is how I work. This is how I work with perspective. I don't care so much about it being perfect, but the most important thing is to keep the perspective more or less consistent in the picture. So for example, you have the tiles on the wall here, and we know that the tiles go on this wall, and if you want to draw tiles like this, you have two methods. You can start from the side and then gradually go like this, but it's kind of difficult. So you can divide this wall in half like this, and then again in half like this, and in half, and in half, and so okay, like this. Okay, and also here and here and here and here and here like this. And you have this distance here, which is one tile, and you can do the one tile thing, and it doesn't matter if it's wonky a little bit. If it's a little bit wonky across the whole picture, then it won't make a difference so much. And also, like in this wall, you don't have the other side of this wall, but you can kind of tell that this heater is here, so the perspective will be like this. So you have this line here. Okay, so the next line should be like here, because this distance and this distance here should be more or less in perspective. So if you have those two lines, you can again divide them, or compare the size of the tile from this wall. It's like, okay, 3 tiles here, and this is how you work with perspective to make things work across the whole picture. And to make things just not realistic but believable enough, so you can just go with this. And this bathtub here is kind of here, and it has like round edges here. Okay, like this, and like this. And I really like this reflection here, which he did really nice, because it properly disappears like from here to here, just really good. But when drawing tiles, I use like this technique that I paint only inside. I don't paint the stuff that's between, which is really hard and time consuming, but once you get good at it, you can paint a lot of nice tiles and bricks that are kind of nice and realistic. So you just paint like this part here, and then you go to the next one, but sometimes you change the color a little bit. So you mix the watercolor, if you are painting with watercolors, a little bit, because tiles like this are never glued to the wall in the perfect like at the same angle. So they mirror different things, and they mirror the light a little bit different. So tiles like this are always a little bit of different color, so it's nice to change the color as you go. And also, of course, we need more contrast in this picture, so the bathtub should be more whitish, and the background should be more of intensive color, so the picture, so the bathtub pops out more a little bit. You can see the picture I did to compare the colors, but the biggest the biggest thing I want to comment on here is the perspective, because the heater is a little bit wonky, and the tiles are a little bit wonky. And not to make it wonky, you can use this technique I showed you here, which is just making boxes and then going out from the thing that you know you want it like this, and then you extrapolate from this point. Okay, that's it for this picture. I will save it also. Oh, 3 desktop, save desktop. Okay, so the next one is from Kaneki Shiba, and I'll copy the nickname Kaneki Shiba, and there was the Instagram. Save. Okay, so you should be able to see it. Okay, and let's open the picture. Is this one, and this is another watercolor, I think, sketch. Okay, and the main question here was about the contrast and color balance. Using color is new for me. What do you think about it? Okay, so the same as with the previous pictures, I think this is really nice picture. It's in the kind of wonky, sketchy style that I really like. But again, the colors are kind of similar. Na zdrowie. Like you use similar kind of blue and green here in the background as you do here in the foreground. And there are almost no shadows, and the shadows are kind of necessary if you want to make a nice easy to understand picture. Even if you are painting a scene that is kind of rainy and it has almost no shadows or flat shadows, then you should think more with layers and more with contrasting the elements of your picture. So okay, let's get to it. Okay, I have my color wheel here, which is useful. Okay, so let's see what we have here. We have this layer here, which we call 1, and also this elements here. And let's say that this house here and this lantern here is also like layer 1. Is the foreground, and layer 1 is kind of about here if it comes to the ground. Okay, so that's our first layer. And with animation backgrounds, you often think with layers because this is the part you move when you do like sliding with the camera and stuff. So the second layer is really helpful to think with like this. It's this one here. So 2. It's this building here, and let's say it's this buildings here 2. And then you have the layer here, which is the, let's call it the background, the BG. So you have to think. Okay, so let's make this layer 3, and let's make this layer not. Let's call this BG, background. Okay, so we have to think about how to make this picture more easy to understand the depth. The perspective here is kind of nice. It's wonky, but it's kept along the picture. So let's make a new layer. So you have this kind of line here and this kind of line. So let's make a different color, easier to understand. I'm always afraid of using red. Please don't have any associations with school or anything. I'm not correcting, I'm just commenting, but it's the easiest to understand color here. Okay, so you have this kind of perspective, which I like because it's not linear. It's this kind of wonky, sketchy perspective, and it's okay. The only thing that I have to say here is this sign here, which is a little bit skewed. I would do it like this. So it's kind of if you skew everything too much, it's not really it's not too good because everything kind of falls apart and there's no sturdy ground you can stand on. So I would recommend to, if you want to do this kind of wonky perspective, it's nice to use this kind of perspective zone, so all your lines go kind of more or less into this zone, which is kind of what you are doing here. But some things should be kind of grounded really nicely so the picture stands, and it's most important in things that are in front, because this is the part that we are kind of seeing the most. Okay, so getting back to the distance problem, let's do hue saturation here. So I'll just make it lighter and less saturated, maybe more saturated, but lighter, about like this. And let's fill this. Okay. Okay, so first let's do the background lighter and the clouds until here, because this is where the buildings are. Okay, so this is the first part. It's like if you do the backgrounds a little bit lighter, and you can also do it a little bit more bluish. So let's put a screen layer here and like blue color, fill it with blue and do like this, little bit too much. Okay, and again and the front here, we could do it a little bit more darker. So let's put overlay on new layer, P, overlay, bang, and make it more darker, a little bit, just a little bit darker. And this building here, you don't have to use construction lines for drawing or painting if you don't have to, if you don't want to. That's one of the things that we are taught, that we should use construction lines so the perspective is correct. I don't think you should use actually construction lines if you don't have to. It's better to know perspective and to use it when you want to use it, really. So you are the kind of a master of the perspective. You can use construction lines if you are not sure about the size of things, and or this painting requires more accuracy, then yes, you can use it. But you don't have to use construction for everything you do. I did like the sketch that I did of the train lately that you've seen on my probably Twitter and stuff. And I had only like 20 minutes to do it because we were filming a little thing, and I had to do it really fast. So I did not do any construction lines on this, and just eyeballed it. And if you are if you know what you're doing with perspective, if you have a little bit of confidence in what you're doing, then you don't have to do any construction lines. But again, making construction lines is not a sin in any way. Okay, so I made the foreground. So the when we divided on with the layers, I made the one layer a little bit more darker. I did the background a little bit lighter, so the layers 2 and 3 are kind of there. And to make it even more kind of easy to understand, you can add shadows. So I'll put a layer on multiply and make a kind of bluish shadow, maybe a little bit more stronger than this. Like, you have this edge here, and it's an edge between two buildings, but they are kind of in different worlds because this is the layer and this is the layer. So you have to put something here so it's easier to understand when one building ends and one building begins. You can add a shadow. You can make a different color so it's easier to understand. Okay, this building is a different color. So you don't have to keep things real. You can add stuff and change stuff while you are painting and drawing. So if it's easier to understand, it's better, especially when sketching like this. It's really important to make things easy to understand. Okay. So we have a roof here, and if you add a shadow under this roof, it makes it easy to understand also. Of course, I'm changing the picture a little bit because it didn't have any shadows, so this is a different picture now. But you got my point probably. Okay. I think that the front is a little bit too saturated, so I'll make it a little bit darker and a little bit less saturated, like this one, and apply the mask. So I fill everything with black, and apply it only on the front of the picture. Okay, so I think this is it for this picture. let's see how it looks before and after. So this is before, and it's a really nice sketch. I like it. And this is after. You we could put little bit like of curves on it to make it a little bit lighter, to make it more watercolory. Okay, so let's see it again, before and after. This is how I would tackle distance in a picture like this. This is really difficult, especially if you are doing it on site. So this is one solution for to be sure that you can get nice distance, is to use like difference in saturation and difference in how intensive your colors are. Add shadows, be kind of aware of layers in your picture. So adding shadows and adding stuff, even if there are no shadows here, you can add some shadows to make it more easy to understand. You can add like reflections, and you can make it more like kind of realistic or not. But there are some techniques you can make lies, small lies, to make the picture easier to understand. Okay, I will save this one. 04, I think. Desktop. Yes, 04. Okay. Next one. Next one is from. Yeah, he told me how to read the name, but I already forgot. Valentin Michelet, I think. Okay. I will copy this here. Save. Okay, you should be able to see the title, and let's see the file. Yeah, now it's more like me, because this is how I edited it. I'm sorry, I can only edit things as I would do them, so that's only thing I can do. But maybe I hope you can take something from this. Okay, and this is a new picture. And this is, I think, actually a place we went to with Kana in Kanazawa. Kanazawa だっけ? Kanagawa? Kanazawa. In Kanazawa. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But okay, so let's analyze this picture first, quickly. Okay, so we have a building here. We have the perspective like this, and it meets kind of like here. Okay, so the lines here are a little bit off perspective. These lines are okay, and yeah, it looks okay. The ground is also like more or less in perspective, which is okay. And we have the stairs here, which go like here and end here. And we have another building here, which is in the completely different perspective, because it's built in completely different angle. So this part here is completely other story. The line here, this is like a okay, so this is like a vertical line. Okay, so we have 1 point perspective here in the front part, and it goes in the background here. Okay, so the only thing I have to say in this picture in terms of the construction is like you have this part here, which is the front part with the building, and it's in shadow because there is like the line of the shadow here. But here's like a little bit of light, which is here. It comes from somewhere, I don't know. And this part here, the left part, is also in shadow, I think. So for me, the first thing that I would do with this picture is to make the shadow part in shadow. So let's make a new, we have a layer, so let's multiply it, and let's see how this looks if we put the front part in shadow. Let's make a brush here, like a bluish color, I think, maybe like something like this. Okay, no, this is more green. Let's do like, yeah, okay. Let's put this part here more into shadow. I will erase the excess later. Okay, and let's erase the excess part. I'm doing it really rough, of course, but I want to show what I'm aiming for. Okay, and this light here is really important because this light comes from somewhere and it gives a nice accent, gold accent here. This is really good. And with the shadow here deeper, we can see the shape of the building and the shape of the plant here and like the stairs a lot better. So I'll make it less violet because I don't like it. More like this, and maybe a little bit darker even. Yeah, like this. Okay, so this is the first part I would do, which is like putting this part in more in shadow. And because the contrast here is really deep, so we have the shadow part and we have the light part. The highlight, the shadow here is really sharp, and it's okay like this, but if we could use some Photoshop magic on this and try to do it more okay, like this, and like soft brush, and let's do an overlay layer here and pick a like orangish color. So the trick is that if you make a layer that is kind of cold here and a layer that's warm in the background, you can use this border here to make it more kind of realistic by adding like this kind of highlight, and in some places to make it look like the light is kind of bouncing from somewhere. And also on metal parts like this, you can leave some white highlights or warm color like this gold here, which is really nice color here, like this kind of highlights or this kind of highlights that make it more kind of obvious what this is, like a metal part that is reflecting the color from somewhere. You don't have to be really specific about it. Like this. And the small accents will give the picture a little bit more realism, I think. Okay. And the last thing I have to comment here is two things. One thing is, if we just turn it off a little bit for a second, is this part here. And I don't know from, and like for example, this part here, I'll make a circle around it so you can see it better. Okay, so this part here and this part here. I don't know if it's because of your paper that you are using, or probably so. I would try to get this wash smoother a little bit. It's the same thing that I did with the first illustration of the mice train. It's like this part I think would benefit a little bit if it was a smoother color transition, so it does not have so much of this texture here. I really like the texture on the tiles. It's a really nice detail, and it pays off a lot with this picture. Okay, and the second thing I would I would mention here is like you have a really nice detail here, like this part here, and you really like put a lot of effort in this construction here, but the chochin, so the lantern, is not realistic. So it kind of stands out from the from all of the awesome details and architecture here. If you like paint a lantern like this one, it actually goes most of the times like this, so it's the same shape, the bottom and top, and the bottom part, and it's divided like this in this kind of sections like you did, but it's also divided in this kind of sections horizontally. And it would be nice to, if you write the kanji, the text, I don't know if the kanji is correct or not, but whatever. It would be nice actually to paint it inside of the sections and leave this part that is kind of the wire like lighter, so it makes the the thing a little bit more realistic, and like a wire here that is attaching it to something would be also nice. So in some places you have really nice realistic like kind of details and architecture, and it looks really construction wise no problem. The only thing I have I can comment on here is the lantern, which is kind of wonky, but the whole picture is really good. I really like it. Okay, so that's my comment on this. Let's see the before and after. So this is the before, and if you have this kind of construction, and if you know that this lantern here is paper, you could actually make it kind of highlighted. So you could kind of, you know, the paper is thinner on the when it's kind of these sections here, so you could make it like highlighted, so it takes light from somewhere. We could add a layer like screen layer or overlay, and add a little bit like the light is shining through the paper. That would be awesome actually. If you can pull it off with watercolors, that would be awesome here. Yeah, kind of like this. Okay, I like the first illustration, the base illustration, and I like this like kind of more contrasty version also. It depends on what you are kind of aiming for, but yeah, this is awesome too, and this is awesome too. This is kind of different style and different, how do you call it,雰囲気, atmosphere, but it's kind of easier to understand, I think, where the building ends and where the stair starts. Maybe not so intensive, we could make it less opaque like this, but yeah, I kind of like the contrast one. Okay, let's save it. Desktop. Desktop 05. Save. Okay, the next one is from Kiana Hardle, which is a freelance illustrator in Toronto, and there is a website address also if you want to check the works. I'll save it, ping, and you should be able to see it in a second. Okay, it's this picture, and this is actually something along my work, because I was doing backgrounds, like digital backgrounds, a lot of time, and I could actually talk about this picture a lot. So this is work in progress, obviously, because this part is not done yet, but the question I got was more about the perspective and more or less the construction of the image than like details and stuff. So okay, okay, so first let's analyze this thing. I'll use red here, I'm sorry, but it's the most visible color. And the first thing when I think what I think when seeing this picture is like, okay, so there are okay, this is kind of a big file. Let's make it smaller a little bit. Okay, it's easier to work like this. Okay, so there are like this kind of station frames here, from what I can see from the sketch, and the perspective goes like this, and it goes like in a curve, which is nice. It goes like to this zone here, but there are some things here that are a little bit off perspective. With pictures like this that end in one point here in the distance, it's really important to keep it in perspective. So for example, the wires here should go more like this, and the train also should go more like this kind of. So this line here, or yeah, this is kind of okay, I think. It should curve more into this perspective, but the biggest problem I have here is this distance. So the distance of the bench and the distance of those things. Why I'm saying this? It's because let's say you have this wall here, and you have this wall here, and let's say this distance is about, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meters, let's say. Okay, so this distance here, it's more or less this, also like this distance here. This dispense, how do you call it, automatic selling machine, vending machine, yeah, is kind of big here in this distance. It's one of the most often mistakes I see. It's like when you let me see. Okay. Hi to everyone new that joined. I hope you are all okay. I see a lot of comments coming in the chat. Okay. Okay. So one of the biggest mistakes that I see, and that was pointed out to me by a fellow background painter and designer, Roman Toma. It's like when you draw a building, like there's a building, you have a tendency of doing like something like this, which is the door, which if you see like the distance the door has and the distance the building has, the door is kind of huge. It's, if you pick this line and you kind of skew it like this in perspective, the door would be like really big. So the most common mistake in drawing perspective things is making this distance here too long. The first thing you have to check is if this is not too big actually, like windows like this or something. If you the easiest way to check it is using some 3D software. If you have a cube and you do a window in it, which is kind of like this, and you kind of transform it in 3D, so like make perspective like this, it gets really thin actually. So it's really small, and sometimes it's better to just kill it and just draw a line like this and do not paint the insides. It's more kind of realistic. It's more realistic than like drawing the insides. So the problem here, I think, and why the, yeah, I think I did the bathroom. I'm sorry. You should get the warning. I don't know why didn't you get one. Maybe it's YouTube doing I don't know, weird stuff. But yeah, this will be later on YouTube to see. So I'm really sorry that you didn't see it live, but um, I'm sorry. It will be archived. Okay, so getting back to this picture, um, this distance here, I think it's a little bit um, too long in this distance. So to fix it would take a lot of effort, actually. So I would just leave it like this and fix some things that are obviously too long. So like this machine here, which should be kind of like this probably, little bit shorter. And those tiles, I would divide them more like into four, so there are more like squarish, not like one, two, three. Huh? Okay, so they are like smaller a little bit, and these tiles also, especially here. And the bench here is like, we don't know the distance, the size of the bench, so I would make it like all those faces that face like this way, I would make a little bit shorter, so that would make the whole picture appear like more. It's really difficult. It's really difficult with pictures like this, and it's really difficult with perspective like this, which is kind of infinite, and you have to cram more and more stuff as you go. And also the important thing is that you have to keep it kind of simple. So the farther you go, you just kill off the details. So just don't paint stuff that you don't think is absolutely necessary. So in the distance, it's just like really simple shapes. I like the clock, and I like the thing here, but personally I would do the letters more realistically. If you are going for this kind of realism, I would do the letters here or the letters on the clock and on the sign more realistic, because having realistic nice looking fonts adds a lot of realism. I like the bottles here. They look a little bit flat, but they are sometimes flat in those kind of machines, so it's okay. I would add a little bit more shadows and highlights. The whole thing is okay. I would add a little bit more, not details, but I would be a little bit more aware about the shape of things. For example, this kind of vending machine here probably has this kind of plastic highlight here, and it kind of has this is more like deeper in this niche kind of here, and there's like this kind of thing here, and there are legs here. So I would pay a little bit more attention, and the side is kind of a different color probably, so I would be paying more attention to the actual shape of things. Lines are like this are okay if you are painting like, and this is your style, but having it so rough, it kind of, I don't know, for me it kind of defeats the purpose of doing the whole picture so realistically. Also, like in places when you have like the doors and stuff like this, there are some details that should be darker, because in reality they are really dark. But the whole picture, I think that if you work a little bit more on the details, on the shape of things, it will come together nicely. Okay, so that's my comment on this one. I would like to see it when it's finished to see how it looks. Also, as I said in the pictures before, you should think about more about the zones here. So you have the background zone, then you have the things in front, and this kind of progresses like this. So this part here should be lighter, less saturated. and kind of in distance. So the same rules that I did with the watercolors apply here also. And things like here, when you have two things that are of the similar color and similar shape, you should kind of make them more separated so you know when one thing ends and one thing starts. Like the gap here between the train and the platform. And also shadows, of course, because there you have kind of shadows here which are deep and kind of visible, but it's kind of hard to understand where the light comes from. This part here, if it's in shadow, it should be darker, and it should cast shadow here onto the platform. Let's do it quickly. So I'll make a multiply layer and pick like a brush here, and let's make it like this kind of greenish color because you are using it here already, like this. The inside of the train, let's leave it light. Okay, so having a shadow like this, for example, adds more contrast from between the platform and this kind of doors here and the inside of the train, which makes the inside of the train more visible, for example. But this is just one. And you have the roof here, which will probably also be in shadow, and the roof will cast a shadow like here-ish. So this part here would be in shadow, more or less. And the roof kind of ends with the perspective here. So this was one of the shadow kind of schemes that you can think about here. The one thing that you have to remember about shadows is that you can do anything with this, because there can be anything beyond the picture that you don't see that casts shadows. For example, you can do shadows that go like here, because there is a pole here that we don't see and it casts a shadow like here. Or we can do shadows like this because there is something here that we don't see, or here. So shadows are really flexible as a device for making a picture more cool. Because you don't actually have to see what casts the shadow for the shadow to be there. And this is one of the tricks we use a lot with backgrounds painting for animation, because you can have a building that is completely not visible in the frame, but it casts a nice shadow where you actually want it to be. So yeah, that's one of the things we often do, like a little bit of a lie of a shadow. Okay, I'll save this file if you want to, just to have everything. Desktop 06, I think. Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is Reloj, I'm told. I did not get any links, so if you want any links to be posted in the chat, please. And I have the files here, which is, I'll do this one. I got two files, but there are a lot of you today, so I'll just do this one. Okay, and let's make it a little bit more contrasty so you can see it better. Okay. Okay, so I'll try to make it a little bit more easy to understand. Okay. Okay, so I have this picture, and I actually like it. It's simple and it has nice wavy lines. There are only few things I would comment on here actually. Which is, for example, this light here. I think it's again similar color to the wall underneath, so I would make some trick to make it stand out a little bit more, because it's just a little different distance from this wall, I think. For example, inserting a shadow that it casts in like here, maybe like more here. It make it a little bit more interesting. And you could make also the shadows that these wires cast. Let's make it a multiply layer. And also you have a nice shadow here, so I would follow it with the shadow of the balcony, for example, here. And you could make this door here more three-dimensional, like this. And this part here is darker, which is good because it's in shadow, but this part here you could make it a little bit more darker also to make it more visible here. And this shadow, you could make it actually like this kind of wavy shadow, because the top part is kind of wavy, which is nice. And you have those lamps here, which are okay, but the top part, if it would be a little bit more light, it would give this lamp a little bit more three-dimensional effect. And you have this kind of pole here, which is also okay, but it's kind of hard to understand what it is. Probably it's like an electricity thing. So I would personally add a little bit of a shadow also here, so you can see that it kind of stands out from the wall. And for textures like this, okay, so for textures like this here, or for weathering like this, I would actually use a little bit less water when you're painting with watercolors. So let's kind of make it smooth. Okay, let's make it more smooth underneath the shadow I did. Okay, and I will do like, I don't have my watercolors here. It's like I cannot use watercolors on my computer, but if I was doing it with watercolors, I would use a little bit more drier brush here, so to get this kind of, let's see if I don't have like a dry brush kind of thing here. It's like kind of something like this maybe, so it's more like a weathering effect. Kind of a thing. And if you want to get like bricks also, I would recommend doing like, there are few techniques you can use for doing bricks with watercolors, and I actually prefer doing like brick by brick, with adjusting the color on the way a little bit. So I would do one brick like this, and I would take a little bit different color, and I would do a second brick like this, and I would do a brick like here and here, and then I would move like this, and not the whole way, but a little bit. and then gradually blend it with the rest of the wall. But I would not paint it on top of the picture, which is already done. But while painting this wall, you paint like from here to here, and then you change the color on your brush a little bit, and you paint this brick, and then you change the color again and you paint this brick. And while this part here is still wet, you continue it like here, and then you paint a little brick here, and then you change the color on your brush a little bit and you paint this brick. And it's really difficult because you have to do it while the paint is still wet, but the effect is a lot better than just painting like the mortar between the bricks, because it looks a lot better. I don't know. The mortar is rarely more dark than the bricks. Sometimes yes, but you can do stuff like this afterwards. Like, okay, so let's do the mortar like here, and like this. So you get this kind of broken wall effect. Or you can do it on the whole wall also, it's not a problem. And what else? Okay, so there's the wire here. I would the wire is white. You can do it like dark, so it looks more like a wire. In Japan we have like this kind of strange wires that go like 1 2 3 with like the coil around it, like this kind of wires, or like this kind of weird wires like this, which are kind of interesting. I don't know what wires look in this country, but it would be nice to kind of attach them to the wall. So that's kind of attached, so you know where it is. And when painting wires, it's always important to make them look tensioned. So if you have a wire attached and you have a wire attached, it goes like this, or it goes like this, or it goes like this, and you have a lamp here, or it goes like in a strange kind of way, because you have like a device here, and you have a wire here, and you have a wire here, and sometimes you have a strange black things here and a wire here. So you kind of build the wire like this. So I would recommend doing like this line, like this kind of thing. So this kind of looks more realistic. Having things sketchy is okay, because this is like a loose kind of drawing, but these kind of things that are that defy gravity, let's say, kind of you focus on them a lot when you see a picture like this. I'm sorry. So you kind of oh, okay, this wire is kind of wonky, and you don't see that it's nice actually, because it's just a sketch, and you have to it's more easy to get distracted by a wonky wire like here than wonky doors like here, because the wonky doors are wonky because they are painted like this. It's the style. But when the wire is wonky, you are like, you focus on this really fast, because it's unnatural kind of, not, gravity is not working the way it should. So I'm avoiding things like this in my sketches, even if they are really kind of rough. Okay, so that's it for this picture. There was not so much I could actually comment here, but let's see, like before and after. So this is the before, and this is the after. I just added some shadows. You could make more stuff here, like make it more contrasty here, so the stuff in the back is more in the back, and the sky you could make more gradient, or add some things here, or the wall in front you can make more darker, so it's more in front. But yeah, as it is also really nice. You could the shadow I added here, you could add of course more, because you should also, if you do it, you should also do it like here on this part to be consistent. Okay, so that is what I would do with this sketch, and I think the shadow makes it more kind of three-dimensional. And with sketches like this, the three-dimensional aspect of this is really important, I think, because if it's simple but nice and three-dimensional and you can kind of see the construction of the building, then it's more interesting. So yeah, and the balcony here like this, for example. Okay, so this is the shadow like this. Okay, so let's save it. Desktop, where's my desktop? It's here. 07, I think. Okay, so the next one is the last one, and it's sent to me by Daniel Ding. I hope I read it right. I'll copy the name and save it. I need a big cursor. I don't know how to do this. And there are two pictures actually. One is like this. Oh, okay, you cannot see it because okay, so this is one of the pictures, and this is the second one, and I'm really at a loss which one to comment, because there are really different ones, but I'll do this one with the water because I can do more stuff here, I think. Okay, first things first, let's analyze this picture like we did with the other ones. So we have the boat here, which is the foreground. Let's call it 1. And we have this part here, which is number 2, and we have the perspective here, which is, I think, okay. It goes like until here. The thing I have with the perspective in this picture is like, okay, this is okay, nice in perspective, but the police cars are not, because they don't have this part here, and they are kind of flat. I would add a little bit here so you can see it actually is in perspective, but they're so like simple that I don't know if it's actually necessary, but whatever. The bridge is okay, I think. Yeah. It's also simple, so even if the perspective is off a little bit, I'm sorry, it's okay. The only thing I'm kind of not sure about is this lamp here, because the shape is kind of weird. If we cut the top part a bit, I think it would be better and more kind of natural. But yeah, that's just the problem of the design of the lamp. So let's do this. Okay. I'm cutting the lamp. The lamp has been cut. It looks a little bit better, I think. Because if we look like from this angle, we really should not be able to see almost any of the top of the lamp. So the original lamp that was drawn here would be like kind of, okay, there's this pole and like this. So if you turn it on the side, you can see it. But if the lamp is originally like this, and you see it from the bottom, you should not be able to see almost none of the top. So this is why I think it looks better like this. Okay, so and this, his question was about the atmosphere of the picture, and should he add more things or more highlights or like more lights or like effects here. And there are some few things that I would do with this picture if it was me painting. One thing is that we have the groups here, which are okay because this not patrol car but police car is kind of lighting this part up, which is nice and okay. But the tree here is kind of in Japanese we would say sabishi, so it's kind of lonely, like a round tree, and you have to be kind of Bob Ross about this kind of things. So this is your picture. You can do the tree how whatever you want it to be. So I would make it more kind of leafy and more interesting, so it adds a little bit to the scene and it's not just like there. You can use references for trees. Trees are kind of difficult and you can have a lot of types of trees, so it's kind of difficult to know what kind of tree do you want to have here. But again, with trees it's kind of layers on layers. It's best to do on 3 layers. So the layer that is in back, the layer that is in front, the leaves that are in front, and between them the trunk. But here I don't have so much time, so I'm just doing it like this. So first I would add the tree and maybe some falling leaves or whatever. It's just we can do whatever we want here. And yeah, kind of like this. It's already more kind of dramatic, I think. And the thing that kind of bothers me about this picture a little bit is that you have everything is a lot saturated a lot. So you have this part here, which is here, which is lit up by the police cars, and it's really saturated because there's a lot of light here, which is okay. And you have this part here, which is also saturated, which is okay. But you have this part here, which also uses a lot of saturated colors, and this part here also uses a lot of saturated colors. I would actually make a little bit of a difference here. So make this part darkened and a lot less saturated, and then let's mask it out. So brush and this part here and this part here. So you are actually in the night here, and police cars are giving you light and color, but this part here is like in the dark. So I would keep it with like cold colors, so we could actually make it more kind of bluish greenish. There's actually a little bit of an earthquake in Japan right now, so if I suddenly disappear from the internet, you know that I'm out because of an earthquake, but it seems to be okay. Instagram. Okay, so he just posted his Instagram. I'll add it to the video. Okay, so this already looks a lot more kind of dramatic. The thing next that I would like to point here is the distance between the cars and the mountain in the back. So let's make a little bit more space there. Okay, so I made a screen layer. I'm actually kind of at a loss how to do this, because I would need layers here, but I don't have so many layers. Okay, maybe like this. Yeah, so I'll just add more space here between the cars and the mountain. So the mountain is a little bit less visible, and with this we have the fence here, which will stand out a little bit more, and the tree also, which will stand out a little bit more. Okay, so the mountain in the back is a little bit less visible, and you can add some highlights like here and there. So you have the police light here. I would add some highlights on the fence because of the police light, like here. And the most important part here is you have really strong light source here, which is the police light here, but you have almost no reflection on the water with the things that are on the hill. So let's see what we can do. Brush. Okay, so I would add a reflection which is kind of like this. Of the things that are on the top of the hill, and I would use the colors that are on the hill, so you can add a reflection in the water. And also you have the tree, which is also not reflected so much in the water. There's a little bit of reflection of the pier, and the boat also is a little bit reflected. Okay, it's just a rough idea. You could add more layers on top of this to make it more even nice and funky. So like a screen layer, and like add a little bit of a reflection here and there. But yeah, it would be actually nice to see a reflection like this on real like photo of water, and see how it would reflect and go from there. Okay, so that's that. I think you could add some also like small reflections on the boat itself, because it's like wood, which is probably wet a little bit, and that would make the boat a little bit more visible for the viewer. Okay. So okay, one point is like the tree. The first point is like the tree. I would make it more interesting shape, which is like trees are really just a round thing, which I would recommend going like on internet searching for some trees, or just going outside and sketching a lot of nice interesting tree shapes that you can put in your waterscape or whatever. The more interesting the shape, the better, but you actually obviously don't want to make this the main point of the picture, so it's not worth to make it too interesting. But yeah, like some leaves and grass are a lot of reflective kinds of, there are a lot of reflective kind of leaves and grass kinds, so doing some reflections here would be also nice, and on the trees probably. Reflections in the water are really important, reflections on the boat, making the distance a little bit more visible with layers. So we have the background layer in the background, you have the first layer here, and the second layer, like the third layer here. So also remembering the layers and making everything nice and visible is important. Okay, so I think this is it for this picture. I will make the before and after thing. So this is after, and this is before. So you can see that because we kind of suppressed the colors here, and made it less kind of saturated, the picture kind of got a little bit more interesting, because only the saturated part is the part that is lit up, but the part that is in the dark is kind of mysterious more with this kind of approach. Of course, it differs on the style of the picture and who paints it, but this is a nice thing to do, I think. Okay, I think we'll be ending this experiment. I hope that you liked it, and if you liked it, maybe we will do it again, but I will think a little bit to make it more interesting and more easy to understand, with me just going here and here, and I will have to have a bigger cursor thing so you can see it better. This was broadcasted live with full HD quality, so probably if you go back to the file, which will be on YouTube soon, and watch it again with better quality, it will be easier to understand what I'm talking about. But yeah, I hope you liked it, and I hope you can take something from what I was saying. And if you liked it, maybe we'll do it again. Yeah, a crime happened here. There's like a hand here. No, I'm still alive. Okay, jokes aside. Okay, we are already like 2 hours in, so I think I'll end it here. And I'm sorry I could not do all the pictures that you sent me, but honestly, some of the pictures were kind of beyond my capabilities, because I feel the best in like scenes and sceneries, and I'm not really good at telling you how to draw people. So I tried to pick the picture that I thought I could actually make some constructive comment about. Okay, I will end it here. Let's see you in the next Q&A session, and I will have some nice announcements soon about the animation I'm doing right now, because I told it in the beginning of the stream, but we will be doing a poster and a trailer soon, so you'll be finally able to see what I'm doing, and I'm really actually anxious to show it to you, because I don't like this whole kind of secrecy that I have to keep right now. And also the book is coming on soon, so I'm really happy about some things. And also go download the font I uploaded to my Gumroad account if you haven't yet, because it's free, so you can just download it and use it for your own purposes. Okay, see you in the next Q&A session. Thank you for coming today, and keep warm still, I think. Yes.